nicely. Are we on? Or
Yes, I think so.
cool. You want to give the intro?
Let's see, I'm refreshing to see if it's.
Nicely.
Yeah, we are. Okay.
Sweet. Are we
Awesome.
on? Or
Yes,
yeah.
we are
Yes, I
live.
think so.
Cool. You want to give the intro?
Yeah. Well, this is episode 3. We are reviewing Ex Machina. This is one Andy actually wanted to watch, and it's a great one following up last week with our last
Terminate.
episode with Terminator and Mandy, another low budget film. Um, so yeah, bit of background. Ex Machina was released in 2014. It's kind of a sci-fi mystery, sort of thriller film, and it's let me pull up the synopsis here. Actually, it was interesting because the way the movie started off was like the inciting incident happened first, right? So it's about this engineer at this like massive Google equivalent company who wins the lottery to go visit the CEO in his exclusive compound, and oddly enough, it wasn't actually a lottery. He was picked. Spoiler at the end. Um, but yeah, no, very interesting movie. What were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so basically the reason why I wanted to pick this movie is that I'm taking a screenwriting class, and 3 of the movies we were required to watch before was Ex Machina, um, Dallas Buyers Club, and Palm Springs. And the reason being is that both of those are all low budget genre films. Ex Machina being the sci-fi, Palm Springs being the comedy, um, and then like Dallas Buyers Club being the drama. And I think I guess our teacher wanted us to focus more on really character stories, right, to help sell, learn more about screenwriting
Yeah,
instead of leaning on the spectacle, but leaning on the low budget aspect of it. How can we maximize that story? And I think it's very helpful to kind of see the stories that are very strongly character driven, but then like what are the parameters of how it's shot, within that low budget, especially for a sci-fi, right? How do you make this look good, right? The
yeah,
sci-fi components. Um, so it's been really great to kind of see this in terms of like maximizing what the director is able to do, and also this movie is written and directed by the same. So the what's his name again? Alex.
Alex Garland.
He is the writer director of this as well.
Yeah,
Um, and this is something that my writing teacher was talking about. He was saying that usually for your first scripts, it's hard for someone to let you direct it if you like direct a big budget film, right? So he's talking about like his first movies, like he sold the script on the blacklist and he has it packaged, but he can't direct it. And I was like, oh, why is that? He's like, well, this one, it's like locations are a bit bigger, like, and bigger actors, and the visual effects probably help push this movie a little bit more too. Um, and
yeah,
the scope of the movie.
yeah.
It's still under like, under 20 million, which is still a lot, but compared to like other mid-budget tier movies are what, 20, 50 million, right? What's the limit for indie then, Maurice? Is it under 20? Under
I mean,
10?
that would be pretty low. Yeah, I mean, anything 10 to 20 would be pretty. I mean, yeah, I guess like 50 would be a
Mid-budget.
decent, yeah, mid budget film.
Yeah, I mean, we can even talk about episodes of what was it, like like my director was saying, like one episode of Game of Thrones, or one episode of
Right.
Lord of the Rings, right? Lord of the Rings on Amazon is
Yeah,
basically a movie,
yeah, it's
about 1 hour.
crazy.
So it's
Yeah,
it's cool to see these type of projects and how they're made, especially like I'm writing Tao, and how do I make that evolve? How do I be aware of that, right? So you're writing towards something you can direct, if that makes sense.
yes, yeah, yeah, totally. Writing something that people read and it's like this is doable, not a $300 million,
Yeah.
nothing
So
crazy. Because it probably was written that it's like he arrives at some luxury mountain home or something, not
yeah,
anything, no castle, no huge set extensions or anything like that. Um,
I mean, I'm curious if this. I have to check the commentary, but I'm curious about this house. I don't know if you have facts on the house, but like, was it a set, or was it actually a house they rent out? For the
oh,
movie.
that's a good question. I was watching VFX stuff, but they didn't really talk about that.
Because
I
I
haven't
wouldn't be
seen.
surprised if some of the were like sound stages. Once you go
Yeah,
inside. the thing, and that
Yes.
could be where a lot of the money went to.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like the all of the hallways and the basements where you can't see outside, you could have just yeah, you could have made that.
In the labs too, like building all those out, or renting certain places to put that. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, in terms of shot, what I thought was really interesting was the colors, the use of colors, right? The really leaning towards the blues and the greens for the nature, and really using those wide shots, right?
Yeah.
And then once you go back inside the house, it's really more tighter shots, right? To feel that kind of imprisonment, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
of the characters.
I had some yeah, I noticed when they would later in the film when they would go outside and they would talk about stuff, like nature was very imposing. There's a lot of these
Yes.
like wide, even here it's very prominent. Here again, it's just like it's like when they're clear-headed and they're like touching grass basically. Um, there was
Also, I think
also
the
intro shots
nature
like
is lots
this.
of like the foreground, midground, background, right? To create that depth or the vastness you said of the nature.
Yeah,
Whereas like with the
and there's like shots like
yeah,
this. It's crazy. So yeah, there's definitely some nature motifs and stuff like this where he's just super small, surrounded by, the force of nature. Um, there was another shot. Oh yeah, I guess then this is interesting how she's now walking in nature.
what I love was that even for their clothing, they kept them more neutral colors to blend inside the nature, right?
Yeah,
And when she wears white, it really stands out, into that nature as well.
yeah. Oh yeah, there's this shot too.
Yeah, they're usually like more smaller, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It was pretty. The themes were definitely interesting. Whether it was this nature thing, it was all the reflections as well. Is it
yes.
this shot here? Like this was one of the first reflections, and then it carries through the rest of the film like this. So I kind of, what was your take on these reflections? Like, what did you think? You,
I think it goes to the
those
whole
ref-
theme of like that inner conscience versus like um if it's like having a soul, right? Like, and then that mirror represents the soul of the character. And I just kind of my take on it, right?
yeah,
um and what about for yourself?
I didn't know if it was supposed to mess with the idea that like the reflection is their non-human or their AI because at some point he like questions whether or not he is
Yeah, what's real, what's not, right?
yeah what's yeah so if it's like a you know reflection of that um or if it was just kind of like here as well just or is just supposed to confuse the audience or it's just a visual thing. I mean, I feel like he definitely had a even in this shot I think
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is a reflection or she's looking at the this as
yeah.
well is technically mirrored right in the exact same pose. um
Even like the shots when they're mirrored, it's like very 50-50, right, in the composition, right down the line.
yeah, yeah,
Create
that's
that
a good point.
balance.
um oh, and then the last shot, oh, here again.
Yeah, the mirror, which is, and then you go to the other one, it's like no mirror, right? That's seeing basically a reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's also when she's changing. There's also another shot where
yeah, yeah, I remember the
she,
five. There's like
yeah,
five.
there's
Yeah,
like a bunch of them or a bunch of her reflected. And then this shot was interesting because I couldn't tell whether or not it was actually
a
again the
reflection.
reflection theme or it was just some like what is she looking into? Are we looking through glass or are we seeing her reflection? It was kind of hard to. Pretty sure that was the last shot of the film though.
Yeah, yeah, it
Um,
is. Yeah, I feel like that was the whole point. It was like now, if before we're seeing solid figure and the reflection of it, now it's just the reflection, right? At the
yeah,
end of it. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what that is. It could be like the soul of the character, the two sides or this duality, right? Of like both these people have like two sides, right? One was like keeping it secret. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of duality in the story as well.
yeah. Especially because it's centered around them talking to each other, um, and the different interview questions and them learning about each other. So there's definitely them thinking about each other, I guess.
The red is a very strong color for the alarm, and it really signals that something is off every time too. So like the colors when it's inside the lab, it's more like white and yellow.
Yeah.
Then and also like even for the production design, they kept it very simple in terms of not a lot of textures as well, right?
Right.
And more geometric shapes, right, to kind of show that man-made aspect. Once you go to nature, is like a lot of textures, a lot of
Yeah.
yeah,
Different shapes, kind of chaotic.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. Even this probably. I mean, he was talking about the Pollock painting and
yeah.
how it was like kind of random, but it was also concentrated and yeah, pretty. Yeah, it was. And man, it was funny because at some point, what did he say? Oh no, it was like the drawing or something.
Oh yeah.
She presented the drawing and she was like, oh, what did she say? It was exactly what this whole generative AI stuff is about.
She's like, I don't know where it came from. She's like, I drew this, but I don't know where it came from.
Yeah. Oh, I must have written it down. But yes, exactly, which was hilarious because it was like the generative AI stuff today
Yeah,
doesn't know what it just did. It's just like printing out stuff
it doesn't
and
know where
just
it came from. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. This whole movie 10 years ago, man, and then now we're living in this stuff and everyone's talking about it again. It was kind of interesting to see it. Um, yeah,
yeah. I mean, in terms of like the way, even the videography, I don't think there was anything kind of too crazy with it at all. Like no cranes or anything. It's a lot of just handheld or steady cam with it as well.
yeah, that definitely helped. Definitely helped with visual effects. Um, Not shaking the camera everywhere like that
Yeah.
drives people because you can always do that in post.
Mhm.
So shaking the camera is like totally unnecessary for a lot of things. I can pull up some of the. Did you watch any of the VFX breakdown?
Not yet, not yet. But I think even keeping it that more steady cam and like locked, it gives that kind of cold feel to it.
Yeah,
For this
totally.
atmosphere, it's very stiff.
Yeah, and it was like because the camera was similar and they were using lighting and stuff specifically, it made it feel unnerving over a long period of time. That you're like, something's gonna go wrong, but the camera is like, no, we're chilling, and then you're like, no. Let me switch over the thing. Also,
I guess the other aspect that's interesting too is like the use of security footage camera, right? The very objective lens is more the third point of view of the
yeah.
voyeuristic.
Also, sorry, my camera isn't working for you.
Target.
My computer.
Oh yeah, I was wondering how they did this. Did they put it on a green screen suit and paint over it, or they just did empty plates and animated on top of it?
So I think she wore a suit. So they said they shot a clean plate for every shot. So that I'm pretty sure that means she's not in the shot. So they have the same camera work. And then we should be able to see it here. Yeah, so she's wearing this suit.
Mesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did the
So
mesh.
she's completely covered. And then that's the retopology of the 3D model. And then it gets composited out. So every frame is painted out.
That's crazy, man. It's like
Yeah, it's really impressive. And this is I wasn't working at double negative at this time, of course,
how
but
do they track all that every frame? Is it literally just every frame is painted?
well, I so what they do is they
It's gotta be
have the
3D.
3D model match
Yeah.
exactly what she's doing, and then yeah, they composite that in, so it's all tracked to that. So the camera's tracked, so it's all in a 3D thing, and then you capture all the data on set, like all your how everything is lit. So she's actually putting it over her leg, right? That's why it feels so real because it is. But see, there's the clean plate. Um,
And they have that mesh to kind of track everything.
yeah, I'm assuming that's the 3D. Yeah, I guess that or that's the model as well.
I mean, actually, that's where a lot of the money went too for the visual effects. Like,
Oh yeah.
and this movie isn't a movie with like bombs or explosions, like action sequences.
No, it's just really well crafted visual effects, which is why I won best visual effects for the Oscar. Um, Understandable because I was mesmerized 10 years ago. I was like, damn, this looks really impressive. It's totally believable. It's a cool design too because there's another breakdown where they talk about um, how they can't like the different iterations of the design. It wasn't always this looking thing, but yeah, super impressive.
I'm curious if that's also why they kept the rooms really simple too, because you have the reflection of it, in the production design. Like imagine all those textures having to track and paint on the robots as it's like off the reflections.
Yeah. Let me share the other one real quick.
Yeah, because those are her real hands. It's the other stuff.
Yeah. So it's like real up to her, the
Yeah.
collar, I guess. And it's a bit of talking. Yeah, we kind of saw that shot. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's some of the different designs.
Oh, whoa.
I think it started like kind of cyborg. They mentioned in the, or I guess.
Actress in a suit rather than an android, so the team decided on a see-through metallic mesh to give her a humanoid shape and inside simplified versions of human muscles. The difficult part is finding a balance, not between robot and human visually, but between repulsion and empathy emotionally. The lead actress was photo booth scanned in pre-production, so the artists could create a 3D model. The team continued designing and texturing throughout principal photography, and once the final costume was ready on set, the actress was scanned again to ensure that the CG elements would match up perfectly. The CG elements in Ava were built into a rig where the muscles would fire correctly and organs and gyroscopes would just spin.
It's crazy.
Yeah, actually it's a lot of like
Film a clean plate for almost all the shots of
footage
the
of her
movie,
kind of
and the
came through all
set,
the
being
frame.
basically a glass cube within another glass cube, meant plate tracking was going to be complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
The team had to use witness cameras, but due to the small set and the reflections on the glass, their positioning was difficult, and some cameras had to be removed in post-production.
Yeah,
Being
they had
a
to paint
dramatic
out.
film
Yeah,
rather
paint
than
out.
an action
Insane.
film, effect shots are bigger. Instead of a normal average of 3 seconds a shot, in Ex Machina they were 8 seconds, with one shot being over a minute in length. That's 1,600 frames. In addition, the film was shot on a Sony f/65 with an anamorphic lens. This meant that when Ava wasn't quite in focus, she was slightly distorted. This distortion had to be applied to all her CG parts also. According to Dino,
crazy.
all these
Yeah,
factors
it's
made Ex
actually-
Machina one of the hardest body tracking jobs they've ever
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, it's like a marvel and a work of art at the same time. It's crazy.
You have to track all that, especially with that lens. The morphing.
Yeah, that when I was working at DNEG in London, that made
Please give us a
gave me
like if you
whole
enjoyed this video. Don't
different
forget the links to the
appreciation
music
for
used in
visual
this
effects, 'cause they're really
video in the video description,
engineering
and be sure
what
to
it
let
would
us know in
actually
the
look
comments
like in
which
real
movie
life.
VFX
Yeah.
And that is just, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It's kind of
Yeah, that's funny. They paint them out.
Yeah, they're all
Probably
hiding and
Yeah. It's funny.
yeah.
Yeah, those are probably sets. Any other fun facts you found?
No, I did. I didn't realize that this director did Civil War recently, and
Yeah,
one other.
stuff. Yeah.
What was this other movie that he did? And yeah, he's mainly a writer. No, he's directed a few. Right. He did 28 Days Later.
Wait, check his idea. I forgot what he did. I know he wrote a lot of different stuff
switch
that he
over.
did too.
So he wrote a bunch of stuff. 28 Days Later, that was his big one. Oh, Sunshine. Oh, that makes total sense. Have you seen this movie?
Is that the one that like
Dude. Every
Hello?
time when I'm streaming I lose internet or something.
what were you saying?
It's about
Oh, he wrote Dread too. Yeah. Oh yeah, he did Annihilation. Yeah, that one I remember.
right. I didn't see that movie actually. Oh, can you
What's Batman Black and White? But Sunshine.
Oh, I see. It's because I opened Sunshine in a different tab. That's my bad. I didn't see Annihilation. That was with
It is Danny Boyle. Sunshine is yeah. I know which one it is.
Yeah, that movie was cool. That also had a thriller mystery
Yeah.
aspect to it. But now he's written 28 years later, so a
Yep.
sequel to 28 Days Later.
I wonder if he started off from writing and then became a director, or was always a writer director, but just wrote scripts to pay the bills.
Yeah, he wrote a novel, The Beach. So he's written a couple novels apparently.
Doesn't The Beach turn into a movie?
Yeah, it says this is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Oh wow, this guy's been writing. Oh, and Danny Boyle directed it too. Oh, so he's been doing. So that's a big team up, usual team up. Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
I like Danny Boyle.
Oh, interesting. So crazy. So one of the actresses was a producer at DNEG when I was working in London.
Oh really?
In this movie. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. She was like, "Yeah, I was in this movie." And I was like, "I've never heard of the movie, right?" And then I saw Leo was in it and I was like, "What?" Um,
This is like when they were super young too.
yeah. No, have you seen this? I have not seen this movie.
No, I haven't seen it. I've seen it.
Um,
I mean, in terms of the story, it's really you get the setup is pretty straightforward. You're thrown into it. Pay attention, right? The guy's like trying to suss him out. Does that make sense?
Andy, I'm sorry. My computer is just.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you again. You started explaining it and then it cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, very good. I was talking about like the
The
structure.
story. Yeah. Sorry. Go
Yeah,
again.
I think the first act is just all set up, and I think they throw you straight into it with the like you said, inciting incident is the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I think the first plot point. Oh yeah, the movie.
I can hear that.
So I'm just like scanning through the movie really quick. And I think the first plot. So that's all set up, all the characters, and then the first weird incident. So we have Ava session 2, which is then breaking to act 2, and now you're building their character beats. And I think the first when things get weird is that first red light. And it sets up the whole tension between them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because then they're like, oh, there's something weird happening. And then break into act 2 is like kind of, I guess they're fun and games moment. Yeah, the red light happens before. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
So the end of act 1 is when the red lights turn on.
Okay. So that's the inciting incident.
Oh no, that's the end of act 1.
Act 1.
Right.
I was wondering what you thought the inciting incident was because it really seemed that it was just the first shot with him.
Oh no, I agree. You're right. The first
Yeah.
shot's the second incident. Yeah, just
Yeah,
gets you
that's
through.
right.
That's what kicks
Yeah.
off the story.
That's
And
the
it up-
hook.
Hook is inciting incident.
Yeah.
Throws you straight in, and it's all just setup of the characters and the story. And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, where's the weird aspect of it, right?
Mhm.
And then to end of act 1 is that red light, and he's like, oh, the leader is a bad guy, or is not should be trusted.
Right. Yeah.
And then that sets up the whole act 2, which is the mystery of him trying to suss out who's right and who's wrong, between the robot and the guy, the CEO, right? And then I think plot point 1 is then I think we get more deeper into like the labs and all this stuff. So I think the whole point for me is like this setup of like act 1 starts off like the robot and the CEO are in neutral positions with the coder, and then it becomes like less, or maybe he trusts the guy first, right? The CEO.
Yeah.
And doesn't trust the robot, and by the end of up to act 2A is about the inversion of that, right?
Yeah.
And then we find out that like at the midpoint she reveals that she like likes him, so it locks in that, and now the second half is him trying to rescue her, right? Which makes sense for the story, for the structure.
Right.
So it's very simple terms, but it's all about like that tension and building that up throughout the story.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I liked how Caleb, which is the employee that won,
Yeah.
he was like center frame for the beginning up until that inciting incident, and then the entire time was Nathan was like, I don't have a shot of him, I don't think. but he was never center frame. And they would always do this, like they wouldn't break the 180, but they would put Nathan like off to the side of the frame where you would think that that Caleb would be. I don't think I have a shot of it. It was weird. Sorry?
Did the dinner table scene? The first one?
Like the dinner table, and then also there was just a couple conversations when maybe like their first beer that they were hanging out that it just didn't like they were not on their screen where they should have been screen left or screen right. Like they were both screen right, but they didn't cross the line. They just made it this awkward like composition, which we would never do that at Lucasfilm. Like if you're left to right, you are on the left side of the screen. Period. Like
it's that shot right there. You go down, the green, not the down and down. That window one.
This one.
The one after
this one.
Yeah, because he at this point here he's standing next to the window, and then he's sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah. Yes.
They're keeping it from this type of shot going back and forth. And then they don't share the two shot until he sits down with them.
Right.
And then the shot is more feels more natural in terms of the way they place the camera and the lensing. It feels like you're just with them now, right? Where it feels more distant with these two shots here in terms of how they shot it.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see if I can pull up one of those scenes.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway of this movie is like how do you again like simple character stuff, right? Dialogue, but how you shoot it in a very interesting way, right? And then using the composition to kind of inform that, right, as well, to create this subtext in your dialogue in the story.
Nope, sorry, that's the wrong screen.
I think that first clip right there. Oh, yeah.
Wait. Oh, dude, it's not him meeting. It's dude. Sorry.
Oh man, she's fascinating.
Yeah.
When you talk to
like
her,
yeah.
just through the looking glass.
He's in the middle.
Through the looking glass. Wow. You're good with words, Caleb. You're quotable.
Actually, that's someone else's quote.
You know, I wrote down that other line you came up with.
Yeah, because he's screen left, but looking towards him. Yeah.
Right. So like he should be over here somewhere is typically how you would do it, but doing it this way is a jarring.
Through the looking glass.
I mean, maybe not every audience member
Wow.
thinks about it, but like it's a subtle
Good with words,
thing
Caleb.
that.
You're quotable.
Actually, that's someone else's quote.
You know, I wrote down that other line you came up with. The one about how if I've invented a machine with consciousness, I'm not a man, I'm God.
I don't think that's exactly.
I just thought, fuck, man, that is so good when we get to tell the story, you know? I turned to Caleb.
Now he's more middle.
And he looked up at me and he said,
Yeah.
you're not a man, you're God.
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
So.
Oh, but here's the eyelash right there too. Before.
You're impressed.
Yes. Yes. Although.
There's a qualification to you being impressed?
No, there's no qualification to her. It's just in the Turing test.
And now we're drifting. See how the camera's tracking?
No, we're way past that.
Yep.
If I hid Ava from you so you just heard her voice, she would pass for human. The real test is to show you that she's a robot and then see if you still feel she has consciousness.
And now they're the same. It's
Yeah, I think
interesting.
you're probably
It's
right.
2 camera setups though. Oh, 3.
Her language abilities, they're incredible.
They tracked the camera so they could sit it like this, I
stochastic.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's non-deterministic.
Now he's
At
center
first I
frame.
thought she was mapping
But they're actually next to each other, which is really interesting. Because the lensing is pushing them further away.
Words, but then I started to realize the
See
model
that?
is some kind of hybrid.
Caleb,
Yeah.
No?
I understand that you want me to explain how Ava works, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Try
And they're
me.
all on singles.
hot on
They're
high
both
level
singles, right?
reflection.
They're
It's
never.
not because I think you're too dumb.
But-
It's because I want to have a beer and a conversation with you, not a seminar.
That's the key thing, right? That line right there.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
It's because now it feels like they're having a conversation now, right?
Yeah.
So
And now
the
they're
Answer me.
yeah,
this.
2 shot. Yeah, it's a good point.
How do you feel about it?
so I think that was the whole point of that setup is to create this
Nothing
sense of like.
analytical.
So if you go back to the very beginning,
How do you feel?
there is a subtext on what they're trying to do, right? So if you have the middle guy here,
Fascinating.
his eye line's looking here like this thing, right? So you want to ideally look to the screen
Through the
right?
looking glass.
on the other
Through
actor,
the looking glass. Wow.
here, right? But because of
With
this,
words, Caleb.
it's as if
quotable.
he's like he's hitting a wall with him, right? He
You know,
can't.
I wrote
The
down
eyes
that
can't
other
move
line you
past
came
that.
up with.
Yeah.
The one about how if I've invented a
Yeah.
machine with consciousness, I'm not a man, I'm God.
I don't think that's exactly.
I just thought, fuck, man, that is so good. When we
I
get to
think
tell
it's
the
different
story,
setup, a different
you
take.
know? I turned to Caleb,
Sorry.
and he looked up at me and he said,
It's a different take
"You're
with
not
this
a
one.
man, you're God."
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
Now they're in the middle.
So, anyway, you're impressed.
Yes, yes. Although,
Although, there's a qualification to you being impressed.
no, there's no qualification to her.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
eye
a
line
Turing
the shift
test.
in the camera, right? It's getting
The
more
machine should be
three-quarters.
hidden from the examiner.
No, we're
Yeah.
way past that.
It's so
If
subtle
I
you don't
hid
notice
Ava
it in
from you,
the
so you just heard her voice, she would pass for human.
only when you're
The real
rewatching
test
and
is to show you that
studying
she's a
it.
robot, and then see if you still feel she has consciousness.
And that's the
Yeah,
value
you're
of
probably
when
right.
you do like
Her
film
language
studies, or you
abilities.
know you're drawing the frames again.
They're incredible.
It's
The
worth to
system
go
is,
frame by frame and
the
see what the
casting,
camera is doing.
right?
So I think a lot of people just draw the composition of the
Non-deterministic.
shot and the story.
At first, I thought she was
Because even like this shot, you're a lot closer to him, right? So
syntactic
it feels
tree
with him
structure
more.
and then getting
Yeah.
linearized
And then
words. But
the other
then I
guy's
started
much
to
further back,
realize the model
right
is
here.
some kind of hybrid.
Because
Caleb?
you know they're actually very close to each other,
No.
but there's so much
I
space.
understand that you want me to
I mean,
explain how Ava
Yeah,
So
they
now
feel
that-
distant with the.
Feel that
I'm
distance.
sorry,
And now
I'm
he's
not
pushing
able
it
to
and
do
turning that camera more
I'm hot on a
towards
high
the
level
axis.
abstraction.
It's not
to
because I
make it
think
feel
you're
what
too
it's
dumb.
right now. So this feels more natural,
Because
right?
I want to have
Yeah.
a beer and a conversation with
But,
you.
Yeah, you feel like you're almost in between them.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're all right.
The gap is not that far between them.
No,
Answer me this.
actually, that'll be
I'm-
interesting. So he's here in between the second and the third from the right.
Feel about it. Because I want
We
to
go
have
to
a
the
beer and a
shot before that
conversation
before we
with you,
get,
not a
we get
seminar.
even closer to him.
Yeah, he's roughly in the same place.
But he feels further away, right? 'Cause,
Yeah. Just the way they shot it. Now he's a little bit closer here for sure because the pillow is, unless they
Yeah.
move all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, it's obviously on a.
I'm sure they cheated the shot, right? I'm sure they're like, okay, you get out of the way, and we'll put the camera.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about it? Nothing analytical.
What's also interesting is like
How do you feel?
this guy is like, if you look at the lighting, go back to that two shot. One's more. Look at the way they're doing the clothing too, right? He's more gray, so the light reflects off him, right? He's more catching the light.
Yeah.
So if you blur your eyes, yeah, like one's more in the light side, one's more further in the dark.
Yeah, and he's completely clouded by his impression of Ava,
Mhm.
and he's totally. He already knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel that she's fucking amazing.
Dude.
Yeah, he doesn't give a crap. He knows what's going on. He's like playing this guy.
Yeah.
Cheers.
This shot feels very natural, as if you're, two guys
Yeah.
just shooting.
More classic over the shoulder.
It's a good scenes at the dinner table scene between them.
Oh yeah, this is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had to go through the movie again more specifically because again, most of the dialogue scenes are two characters dialogue scenes, right? But they're shot in a way that's engaging, and
Yeah.
interesting.
I think I forgot to ask you if you had one shot from the film. I think this close up here of her is kind of my one shot, maybe. This one.
Yeah,
This
one's
is eerie as fuck.
Yeah.
It's eerie. The VFX, you immediately get sold that it's real. Like everything about this, the way this tree
yeah
frames
wraps right.
her, like what in the F, this is fantastic.
Yeah, that shot's super creepy too. Yeah, I remember when I watched it, that felt really eerie. She turns to him.
Yeah. And then again, they did the same thing, right? So he's screen right, she's screen left. Now he's still screen right, screen left. Same. And then now they cut
Yeah.
to 180 and you're just like, what?
Just get to break that pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. From her point of view, is it a different, like, I don't know, we'd have to ask him, like, is the reflection motif in this, like, breaking the 180 thing, like, is it all intertwined? It's pretty.
It's also cool, like, if you go back to that shot of her, there's like nature behind her, it's just the backdrop, like this kind of caged animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back to him, it's like you see all the electronics in the blue, right? So it feels more robotic and cold.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good point. That she's not the artificial one.
Yeah, and you feel like you feel like you're like an animal, like he's observing an animal at a zoo.
Pleased to meet you, Ava.
I'm pleased to meet you too. I've never met anyone new before. Only Nathan.
The other interesting part too is like, I mean, this movie, the point of view is between these two characters, right?
Haven't you met?
Because if it was purely from that guy, I'm curious to like, if there's a need to even go on the other side of the camera. Does that make sense?
So we need to break the ice.
What do you mean the other side of the camera?
You know what I mean by that?
With her to be on the camera operating on the side of Ava.
Oh, through the glass.
Yeah.
It's
So
always
let's have a
Here.
conversation.
I mean, here we're with her, right? And then other shots were with him.
Yeah.
So I think the other aspect is also to build empathy for the audience, to build empathy for Ava as well, right?
Telling me something about yourself.
what it's like to look through that glass every time. Yeah.
Whatever comes into your head.
And then they had the insert shot of him doing this, which is context.
What would you like to have a conversation about?
The story.
Why don't we start
the
with
sake
you
of-
telling me something about yourself?
What would you like to know?
Whatever comes into your head.
And this shot here, right, with cutting his head off, and she's sitting down, so there's like a power dynamic, right?
And you can
Yeah,
see
and
the
reflection again.
Would you like to know how old I am?
Sure.
I'm one.
One what?
Yeah, he jumped the line or that.
1 year or 1 day?
Or not line, but pushing her more towards.
Yeah.
When did you learn how to speak, Ava?
I always knew how to speak. And that's strange, isn't it?
If you think about it. This is some high quality CCTV footage. They obviously just used the shot from the camera.
know this-
But it's like this makes sense, but then he's got like a 75mm security camera. That's funny.
I was like, oh, this is totally green screen on those monitors for sure.
Yeah.
This shot's really cool too because it feels like he's the one caged,
Some
not her.
people believe language
Yeah,
exists
that's
from
true.
birth. And what is learned is the ability to attach words and structure to the latent ability. Do you agree with
It
that?
kind of is interesting because it's like he's saying like, oh, I'm watching you, but like who's really watching who, right? Or observing who, studying who.
Yeah. They're
Like,
all
is she-
three watching each other in a way.
Yeah, like is she studying him and his behavior,
Yeah.
from that angle of keeping him trapped. So I think that's a kind of cool duality, right? Of like who is really studying who, right? And then at the end of it, the guy's like, oh, what if she is pretending to like you?
Hey everyone. So the
Yeah.
So I thought that was like, yeah, it's this cool it's a kind of a subtle cat and mouse thing if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like Nathan.
Which, I mean, he makes that analogy.
No.
I like this shot. Now she's standing.
different. Nathan wrote the Blue Book base code when he was 13, which if you understand code, what he did was like Mozart or something.
Do you like Mozart?
I like Depeche Mode.
I wonder
you
if
like
they
me?
also had to do this for camera's sake and like it
Yes,
was so
of course.
jarring
Is Nathan your friend?
maybe
My
to
friend.
avoid painting out
I-
cameras and
yeah,
stuff.
I
I
hope
don't
so.
know.
A good
That
friend.
could be it too. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, right?
Well, no,
Yeah,
no,
to
I'm
make
not a
it
good
a little
friend.
bit
A good
cheaper
friend
so they
is-
wouldn't have to do all that stuff.
We only just met each other.
Like they probably like it's a confined.
So it takes
they probably had
time
to
to be able
force the
to,
competition to be a certain way.
to get to know each other, I guess.
Who's trapped now in that shot? Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like she has all this space on the other side. He's confined to that small box.
Yeah.
Caleb.
Yeah, right. He looks like the one that's trapped.
You're wrong.
Wrong about what?
Nathan.
Camera's closer to him.
In what way?
She's more further
He
away.
isn't your friend.
Eerie.
Excuse me? I'm sorry. Ava, I don't understand.
You
It's
shouldn't
interesting the
trust-
eye line of the camera too, right? Like if you go to the shot of her,
You shouldn't trust anything he says.
Go back.
just like the shot when medium shot her. I'm trying to figure out where the position of the camera is right there.
He isn't your friend.
It's like it's punched in from
Excuse me?
Further.
the eye line's about the same.
I'm sorry. If I don't understand.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't trust him.
I meant for like the camera placement
You
of the
shouldn't trust
operator,
anything
like
he
tilting it up or
says.
down.
Oh, that slow tilt.
Or just like because he's taller than her
And if
too,
we
right?
made a list of
And
books
so,
or works of art which we
so
both
it feels
know,
like more
it would
we're
form the ideal basis of a discussion.
And
Is
then
that
this is
okay?
a clear sense of like intelligence on her
Okay.
part to just make up some conversation as if they were
Mhm.
talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It
Oh,
was
they don't share the screen either, huh? Until it's a single.
That's a good point. Except for this wide,
Yeah.
but that's
I love
just
it.
for.
You're wrong,
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Wrong about what?
Nathan.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of singles
In
on
what
this.
way?
Yeah.
That's probably just to keep them separated, you know. That's my guess.
Oh, why aren't
They're
they
not
texting
on
me
the
back?
same
Are they
side.
mad at me?
Because even when we see her, the camera is still inside that container with the guy, right? That's why we see the reflection.
Hey,
Hey.
you want to see something cool?
That's creepy. He's waiting for him.
Yeah.
This is where Ava was created.
This was, I think, plot point 1, the
Go ahead, take a look.
midpoint of Act 2A.
Yeah. This is roughly halfway through, right?
It's
Just before.
in the middle between end of Act 1 and the midpoint.
If you knew
Okay.
the trouble I had getting an AI to read and duplicate facial expressions. You know how I cracked it?
I don't know how you did any of this.
Every cell phone, just about, has a microphone, camera, and a means to transmit
This
data.
is more of a wider lens. You can see the
So I
warping.
turned on every microphone and camera across the entire fucking planet, and I redirected the data through Blue Book. Boom. Limitless resource of vocal and facial interaction.
You hacked the world's cell phones?
Yeah, and all the manufacturers knew I was doing it too. But they couldn't accuse me without admitting they were doing it themselves.
That's interesting. Right? The camera drifts to the left as he moves to the
Here.
right. Right. So just
We have her mind. Structured gel. I had to get away from circuitry. I needed something that could
it feels kind of
arrange
dreamy,
and
right?
rearrange on a molecular level.
Yeah.
To keep its form when
The white
required.
light.
Holding for memories.
Yeah. The color script to this
shifting
scene
for
is a
thoughts.
lot different than everywhere else.
This is her hardware?
Wetware.
And the software?
Well, I'm sure you can guess.
Blue Book.
It was the weird thing about search engines. It was like
He's wearing a white
striking oil in a world that hadn't invented internal
Center
combustion.
frame.
shirt. Yeah.
Too much
As
raw
if he's
material.
being
Nobody knew
God,
what to
right?
do with it.
Like God.
Yeah.
You see, my competitors,
It's angelic for sure.
they were fixated on sucking it up and monetizing via shopping and social media. They thought that search engines were a map of what people were thinking, but actually they were a map of how people were thinking. Impulse, response, fluid, imperfect, patterned, chaotic.
Shot just had you wondering.
That dance scene is. It's like I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah, I
it's
think
pretty
that's
cool.
you point out. It's probably like one of my key shots too. Is the one I was like, oh crap.
Yeah,
like
there
that-
was. I'm trying to think of another shot that. This one was just a good example, like to study. Yeah, like foreground triangles. It's kind of interesting. And she's like listening in on them talking, and they're like blurred in the background. Yeah, this is another good example of just how much negative space you can put around somebody.
Yeah.
Like, this is an example of frame in a frame,
Yep.
or framing.
That. Yeah. Yeah, they used like that wide to make it feel weird and the distortion.
Yeah, this is definitely a very wide. I mean, I think they use anamorphic lenses on the whole film, but this is definitely a wider one. This again is just the red. I mean,
Yep.
clearly, yeah. Yeah, and I guess this one, like the last shot of the film, could be one of those shots, just because it's like, what does it mean? How are we perceiving her? Like, are we looking through? We're looking at a reflection. It's pretty interesting. And then, the other shot before this was where the camera was upside down and the shadows were like.
Casting on the road, right? Casting on the road.
Yeah. Before this, yeah, that was also pretty trippy.
Well, I mean, that was cool because that was Chekhov's gun, right? Of her setting up that whole like, I want to walk in a crossroad or go in a crosswalk.
Yes, right. She wanted to people watch, which is that's true.
She is people watching. She's watching herself too.
Yeah, I remember I think when I first saw it in theaters, I was kind of like, there's no way this would happen or whatever. Like, the guy was too dumb at the end to think that they could both get on the helicopter or some shit, or he was going to get out. And then she just got super lucky getting in on the helicopter.
Wait, I thought that was the end.
What?
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of lucky, right? Because he knocked him out. That guy going to stop her was the downfall. No, but he unlocked everything, remember? So
Yeah. That was fine. It was just like, how did she get on the they weren't expecting her to.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Helicopter pilot. Yeah, like how she made it all the way to the city and she has to recharge her batteries, technically speaking. But it doesn't matter. That's not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
The point is she escaped and she's learning, living amongst humans.
Human, right? She got tricked. Yeah. Or she's able to trick the people. Yeah, I don't really. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway of the movie is actually there's no fancy camera moves or anything super dynamic. It's just, I think, kind of the shot design of it. Keeping it simple, but with the visual metaphor, the subtext is right, and the compositions.
Yeah, and I think it was well written. It was like pretty smart, right? Because you had to know some software stuff, you had to know mechanics, and then you also had to think about maybe game theory. I mean, the writer definitely had to think about all of these different situations and what you would actually ask AI and how the employer was masterminding all of this stuff.
I mean, this came out in 2010. He must have been doing this stuff in 2000s, like researching.
Yeah. And in a recent interview with James Cameron, I saw him. He was joking with another director. It's like, it's harder to make up science fiction now.
Oh yeah,
because they're so much further along. Whereas now, like back when this movie was, because when he first sits down with him and he's like, "You made AI," he was like, "No way!" Like so shocked and surprised. And now we're sitting here 10 years later, like it's completely plausible.
Yeah. The next big thing, I saw my cousin's engineering, like the AI agents. Like you can basically build your own team of people just off AI agents, which is crazy.
Yeah. What, AI agents as in like CIA agents, or you mean?
No, like AI, like you can create different bots that are designed to do different tasks.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then basically you can create your own team, right? You can like have this one AI be like the software person, one AI is like the graphic designer. I can literally take all these things that are more specialized and more focused on the different tasks, and create your dream team of people. To basically code whatever you want to code that's specific, which is super crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I have on this movie. Yeah,
it was a good rewatch.
What do you want to watch next? Does Nate want to come to the next one?
Yeah, I can ask him.
Or does Paul want to jump on?
Yeah, we could do one with Paul. See if he's busy. We'd have to do a morning, maybe not stream it. honestly
yeah.
with my with how my OBS is functioning. I might need to look at why my internet keeps cutting out with OBS or something. It's definitely streaming related because this doesn't happen during the day.
You know what has the Criterion Collection has like online has a lot of good movies that I can check out too.
Yeah, that'd be fun to just to do one of those, randomize it, or just maybe pick like a director or something. We do a couple study. Kurosawa films are always great. Yeah, I'm up for anything.
And what else are you watching?
Well, we just finished Game of Thrones, so that was, and I was rewatching The Bear.
Yeah.
While you were just watching The Bear.
I binged the whole thing in 48 hours.
That's awesome.
So
it's
good.
not. I mean, the episodes aren't too long. Was it most of them are 30 minutes or so? 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like you're rewatching all of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
What was the other movie that you said you need to watch for your class?
Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that movie yet. I know that's one I think Matthew McConaughey won an Oscar for, right? I think I need to watch that tomorrow for class.
I'm gonna cut the stream so I can put my camera